And here we go. Let's allow this meeting to begin and see what we bring. Maybe somebody could do a little attunement for us to get us settled in this new way of being together.
I could do that. Yeah. So maybe we just soften our eyes and see how you settle into the chair. As your breathing comes and goes all by itself. The breath comes in and the breath flows out. Maybe noticing your tongue. How does it rest? And let your tongue come a little bit more towards your chin.
For a while.
That's fine. And the tongue can just rest again. We're just bringing awareness to the tongue inside your mouth and how it makes little movements and how that relates to all your anti-gravity muscles so that you can sit more comfortably. As we gather for Christmas Eve, Christmas Boxing Day, December 26th, Help for Helpers. Inviting a sense of what do the holidays mean for you today, 10 years ago, 50 years ago, the whole sense of this time of year, how it is for you. And then slowly we can wiggle our toes, flutter our eyes, and come back to the circle. Maybe say your name when you come back. Say your name. Yeah, June.
Yeah.
Lynn.
Jim and Lynn.
Dorothy.
They rhyme, don't they? Yes. Sophie.
Sophie.
Natty. So maybe someone would like to share the holidays, how it is for you. Maybe there's a song or a story or something you'd like to bring. I did think of a song, and I so much hoped that somebody else would know it. And it turns out that Lynn used to teach it to the children long ago. So perhaps, Lynn, might you sing En Flambeau, Jeanette Isabella for us?
Well, I don't know that I can sing it, but I could maybe identify it. How does it begin? Come, oh come, Jeanette Isabel. Come, oh come to the stable run. Here's the I'm afraid I have forgotten the words, but it is a very lovely. Beautiful is the mother, oh, oh, beautiful is the child. Maybe I can say as my sharing that with that, beautiful is the mother, beautiful is the child, that I'm so aware that Christmas can be a terribly alienating and even frightful holiday for some people, since most of my adult life, I've had partners who were Jewish and lived very much in Jewish community, and and Christmas can be a time of persecution and a time of feeling separate, um, and also for Christians that feel terribly alienated from their tradition. But for me, the stories of the birth of Jesus, and I also had the privilege of going to Israel and to Bethlehem and seeing that little town of Bethlehem. It's a miraculous story of a multicultural, non-white 15 or 16-year-old girl pregnant out of wedlock, celebrating that the birth, the life that was in her, the angel coming to her and saying, rejoice, you're going to give birth to the Son of God. And in some ways, I believe all of us give birth to God. And this young girl was so courageous, giving birth in a manger, and this unwanted child of a refugee having to travel miles on foot to pay taxes to a corrupt government, that this baby was celebrated as the future, as the savior, as the one that was going to bring new life to the community. And for me, the story means that all of the unwanted, unrecognized babies in the world have this incredible potential to bring new life, and all of the parts of ourselves, the baby parts of ourselves that we don't, that aren't legitimate, also have this potential to bring new life and a new way into the community of ourselves. So for me, the story is very wonderful.
Namaste.
That's a very touching story, Lynn.
Yes.
Thank you.
There's actually a new aspect of it that I came in touch with this Christmas, and that's the aspect of actually Jackie, who gave a reflection for our Help the Helpers group, minister of Middle Collegiate Church. She gave a talk about how in Jewish law, women who were pregnant and unmarried would be stoned. There's an Old Testament, in the Old Testament, that the woman should be stoned by the community in front of the house of her husband.
Wow.
And Joseph, who was engaged to Mary, was going to be sort of kind about it and sort of divorce her without any fuss, without bringing any attention to her pregnancy. And the angel appeared and said, don't be afraid to take her as your wife. She's pregnant with the Holy Spirit. And Joseph celebrated that and married Mary, and was part of this whole journey of trying to find room. Another little aspect. All of the little aspects of this story are fascinating to me when they talk about there was no room for Jesus to be born in the inn. Jesus was born in a stable with the oxen and lambs. When I went to Jerusalem and I saw what was an inn, what they thought was an inn, I pictured a Holiday Inn, no hotel. Went in was this hole in a cave. That was the inn. And on the outside of that was where the animals were kept. And so Jesus, there was no room in the inn, the inner part of the cave, but on the outside with the animals. So I think all of that is just fascinating.
Yeah. I love these different stories, Lynn. It just adds so much to the whole story that I was raised with, a very particular story. And I just really appreciate you expanding it in so many different directions. I'd like to share a story and read the lyrics to this song that I want to share. One of my fond memories of Christmas Day is I lived in the suburbs, and we would drive to my uncle's home for Christmas Day, and he would play us a new Christmas song that he had written, and he falls into the category of being ethnically Jewish and writing Christmas songs like Lynn. There's even a special show on the
Right,
Jewish
exactly.
Christmas music. And so each day, each Christmas, I remember, especially when we were teenagers, he would have a little 45, and he would have two different singers for his new song. And the one I remember the best was Rocking Around the Christmas Tree by Brenda Lee. And we definitely voted on her version of it, which certainly became, very popular. And so it was just very lively and enjoyable. So he went on to write many, many Christmas songs, Rudolph being one of them. And the one I wanted to share with you, his name is Johnny Marks, he did a different version of I Heard the Bells on Christmas Day. And his music always touched me, this song, and brought the poem alive for me. Let me read it. I'd like to read it first. And Jim has the YouTube version he was going to play afterwards. Let me see if I can get my eyes coordinated here. When they print, it's often so small on the computer. I heard the bells on Christmas Day, their old familiar carols play, and wild and sweet, the words repeat of peace on earth, goodwill toward men. I thought as now this day had come, the belfries of all Christendom had rung so long the unspoken song, the unbroken song of peace on earth, goodwill to men. And in despair, I bowed my head. There is no peace on earth, I said, for hate is strong and mocks the song of peace on earth, goodwill to men. Then pealed the bells more loud and deep. God is not dead, or doth he sleep? The wrong shall fail, the right prevail, with peace on earth, goodwill to men. And before Jim plays the music, I just wanted to mention that
Thank
the story, the story is that Longfellow, who wrote the poem, he wrote it during the Civil War in 1864. He wrote it, and that he carried a great deal of grief because his son had died in the war. And I know my uncle related to that piece because he was in World War II. So I just wanted to share a little piece of that background around the poem. And Jim, if you could play it, that would be lovely.
Well, let me see if this works.
Beautiful. That was,
Yes, that was very beautiful.
who sang that?
Placido Domingo.
Oh, wow. Placido Domingo. Wow. Okay. Thank you. That was beautiful. May there be peace on earth.
Yes.
Yeah, I was trying to imagine how would that feel like peace on earth, real peace on earth.
Hmm. What is it like where you are, Nazi, in Argentina?
You know, I was listening to the words, and not only the words, but Plácido Domingo has this way of singing that is like a cry for, I felt it like that, like a cry when he says, the song says, there is no peace on earth. And truly, it's like, there is no peace on earth. There is no peace on earth. There are so many places where there is no peace, and many times there is no peace inside of us people, inside our hearts, our souls. So in answer to your question, Lynn, it's not easy in Argentina. It's
Mm.
not, there is, people are frustrated, the economic situation is not very good, so it's like in Buenos Aires we live in a mini world where but there are so many people in the outskirts that have such difficult lives. And as I was listening to you, Lynn, sharing about this, the part that you shared in your story about these children that are not wanted, and even though they are, and even though they are not wanted by society, by whatever, they are born into the world, and there's something there that do wants them. It's like they are wanted, and they are wanted, and the idea of carrying this into everybody's life and soul, and then oh, how huge that is, and how do we do that? So something about that, something about what the things that we can do to make a difference there, for those, especially for those people that cannot find that then, and cannot get to become that they could become, like in Jesus's life. He could do such wonders and bring such message, and then what about those who cannot? So that's that's how I felt the cry there with this song that you brought, Dorothy, and thank you very much for bringing it. And yes, and in different places it's different, but I can speak about Argentina, but then there are so many places in the world, and so many people suffering, and not being able to bring all that, the potential, the and being stuck in so many places because of the hurt, because of the lack, because of hunger, because of war, because there's no peace.
Yes. Right.
Yesterday I went with a group of friends. I go cycling, and these were many friends who didn't have a family to share with. So it was the 25th, it was Christmas, and many people were alone. So we decided to get together and to do something, and we went out, doing what we do, that is cycling, but bringing those people together that didn't have a family to go to, or didn't have a lunch that was prepared, or and everybody was getting together. And then what about those people who are alone, who don't have a family, and that's the cry that I felt in this song.
Yes.
And something that comes up a lot in these special holiday days. There's both the celebration, the remembrance, and it's like the suffering becomes more suffering for some people, because the aloneness becomes more alone.
We can all remember the acts of kindness that grew out of the help for helpers with Aneki. As Nati went with her bicycle to bring some cheer to those who were alone. Yeah. I was surprised my neighbors brought a chestnut cake.
Never heard of a chestnut cake.
Oh, that's great. A chestnut cake.
I love chestnuts. Lots of memories of picking chestnuts under a tree when I was little. I love
Wow.
chestnuts.
Chestnuts are great.
Yeah. How was the cake?
I think she's going to get us some.
That's what, that's
Wouldn't that be great to share, to really share that cake all together?
That would be great.
Well, I'll just bring up that last night, let me see. So in our house, we celebrate Christmas, Hanukkah, and this year, my daughter and son-in-law, new son-in-law, praise be, are here for the holidays, and he is Iranian, so they don't celebrate either. And it was he was so happy to take part in our festivities. So, and it was a little sad when we lit all the Hanukkah candles in the menorah, and to pray for peace over there. And it's sad when, I have to admit, I said a prayer that those who have been beleaguered, let them not turn into people who are challenging others. It's very sad, this cycle that sometimes happens. And anyway, many prayers for peace, and our way of trying to give back as to seniors. I am making a vow to do more volunteer work in the upcoming year, but we give to a great many charities around the world, and that is something that we can do, so we do it. But the holidays were beautiful. I really, really enjoy them. And, whether it's the tree, setting a beautiful table, lighting the menorah, we do all of it. Because I'm Jewish, my husband is not. So, yep, we celebrate it all. Thank you. And it was beautiful.
So I had not unpacked the cake yet. I just opened it so you
Oh,
Oh, wow.
wow.
Oh, my goodness.
Beautiful.
could put some chestnuts.
Oh, wow.
Oh, that
Wait a
is
minute.
gorgeous.
I want to take a picture of that. Do it again. Do it again. Hold it up.
Beautiful.
Hold it up. Hold it up again.
Am I holding it? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, great. Thank you. We love chestnuts. We might try that. What a beautiful cake you got. Wow. Wow. Beautiful cake.
Would
Oh,
you
my
like to take
God.
a picture, June, of the cake?
It's nice that you're appreciated like that. Yay.
Well, they have a new baby, and they wanted me to choose an English name. And they didn't even have a Chinese name for it. So her name is Lucia, and she was born on June 5. So every month, on the 5th of the month, I bring a flower over there and put it on their porch.
Wow.
And I've seen her 4 times since she was born. And she's gets a little bit bigger, and she's so beautiful. So
Wow.
her family brought a chestnut cake for Christmas.
Wow. That's wonderful. Interbeing. Yay.
The giving and receiving. Katarina, you give a flower each day of her birthday. Is that what you said?
Every month when she's 1 month older, then she has a flower. Yeah.
Every month, right?
Yes. So
Wow.
she'll be 7 months old in
Wow.
January. So it's the winter time, so she has something, a little flower in a pot, because they don't grow outside at this time of year. And we don't see each other. We just put things on the porch or put things, but we did see each other 4 times. Just
Wow.
happened to be outside, yeah. And her house is just outside that window.
Hmm.
So I think of her a lot.
Wow.
It is very sweet when there is some exchanges like this with our neighbors, right? With the people just near us that we don't know, we might not know much, but we live very close. And when there is some exchanges, it feels so, yeah, it feels so comforting.
Yes. On that note, just this morning, my neighbor next door sent a video of their daughter, who's just about 2, singing a Christmas song on her ukulele. It was very funny. So it was the grandmother, visiting grandmother, who sent the video. It was very sweet, right? One grandmother to another, right? It's very sweet.
Yeah, I find this is a time when sometimes we say certain things that we don't say at other times. You know, like I did say, they brought little cookies and they did just put in front of our door. We didn't see them either. They didn't ring the bell. And I just texted them back, thank you. And it said, you know, it feels so, what did I say? It feels so nice to have neighbors like you. I feel so lucky to have neighbors like you.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
So lucky to have neighbors like you. And are we doing the breakout rooms? Is this the time for it? Would you like to, or would you like to stay in the small circle?
How many are there of us? Oh, not a whole lot, right? Or how many?
We're 9, I think.
9.
Oh, 9 altogether? Wow.
Hmm.
Okay. I vote for staying together, I guess. I don't know.
We are
Yeah.
fewer than 9, actually,
Wow.
because one of us is a program. So we have 8, and Lynn usually doesn't go into a breakout room, so we have 7.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, we might want to stay together.
Okay, as we are deciding, I was pondering on these acts, small acts of kindness that means so much, and that they are small but huge, because they, as Katerina was sharing, and you were also sharing, it's like these acts of kindness that can mean so much to somebody. Maybe somebody that is going through something difficult, and maybe this act of kindness is like life for them. We never know. And it's wonderful, like thinking back on what we were sharing about peace in the world and what do we do, and this is so important. These small, huge things, these details are wonderful. They can mean so much to somebody.
Yes, that's right, Natty. It reminds me of a story I used to share with when I was teaching at Leslie to my students about that. I was teaching supervision about so to students who were becoming expressive therapists, about those small acts, how they can change somebody's life. And this story is, you all know Saint-Exupéry, right? Who wrote The Little Prince. and he's very known for that. But he also wrote this beautiful story. I think it's now I can't remember all the details, but I think it might be about him. He was fighting in World War II, and he was a some flight army and air army, we call them, right? He got caught. His plane fell, got caught, was imprisoned, and was, I can't remember in which country. Anyhow, and he knew that he would be killed, and he was in his jail, and there was his guard that was there, and there were no eye contact, nothing, no communication. And at some point, he smiled, looking at his guard. He smiled. I can't remember. I'm sorry, I'm not remembering all the details, but there was something that bridge that helped him smile to the guard. I think it was about him, maybe it was around a time like Christmas or something, like relating to him, like, it must be hard to be here. Or do you have children? Do you have family? Something like that. And the guard looked at him and shared about his, I think it was his children. I have to read the story again. But this smile changed the life of this prisoner. The guard opened the door and said, "Go." And he let him out.
Wow.
Let him out. So yeah, it's the power. I mean,
What story was this, Sophie?
Saint-Exupéry. Wow.
it's a story from Saint-Exupéry. I think it's called The Smile, and I'm sure it's
Smile.
online.
Oh, we'll look for it.
And there's some translation that are better than others, but yeah, it's a beautiful story that capture the power of small act of kindness. That tuning in to somebody else place, I guess. Powerful.
There was some story, I forget which war it was, World War I maybe, of the soldiers singing Silent Night, and the soldiers on the other side picking up the voices and singing with them, meeting for that moment, resuming the killing the next day or something like.
Right, I think it was World War I that they would stop at night. I guess they were on the way to sea, right? And on Christmas night, I think something like that happened.
It's interesting how these stories are deep in us, but we don't remember them exactly, but we remember the feeling of them and the significance of them. I'm afraid I'm going to have to go, but I hope that you have a wonderful rest of the meeting. And
I hope you have a wonderful rest of a safe trip and a wonderful rest of your weeks.
thank you so much.
And thank you so much for all you have
And-
given us all year long.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. And I'll see you next Monday. And I think Abby is the one giving our reflection next Monday for New Year's.
See you then.
Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye, Lynn.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. So I was thinking, if I can share now, Sophie, what you were saying is all about connecting and how we everybody needs connecting to somebody else there. As Jean says, like when we look into somebody's eyes, we know that there's somebody there. Even if we look at a bird or an animal, it's like connecting with somebody there. And I was last night, or yes, I can't remember when, 2 days ago maybe, I watched a film that is called State of Mind, and it's about this psychiatrist who wants to get away from the shock, the shock electricity that schizophrenics were done, and he comes up with this project that he has that is about really connecting with them, connecting with these patients that are schizophrenics, and listening to them and listening to their stories. And then what happens is so different. We know these Rogers and Gentlin have done this before, and doing something different with people that are diagnosed as something, schizophrenics or whatever, and it's people that are leading, that are dealing with somebody with something difficult, traumatic or whatever, and when they can connect with somebody in any little way, in any, as we were speaking about these very small little ways, it makes a difference also. And there's another possibility there for something to move forward. Again, these small acts of kindness that are about connecting and that are so wonderful.
I like being reminded of the small ways that you can connect and offer kindness. And it made me think of how I'd really like to get some flowers for my neighbor whose husband passed away last April, and maybe some of my daughter's chocolate chip cookies, and just bring them to her. She described to me last night when I talked to her how she had her Christmas, she has COVID, so she's alone, but somebody in our building brought her a dinner, and that she put it on her table and put her husband's picture in front of her, and said to me, "I'm having dinner with Ralph," and so touching.
This conversation we have, I found really touching and connecting, that we are in this smaller group. One of the things that I remember most about Christmas, a beautiful memory. As a child, we for many years we celebrated Christmas with my cousins and my grandmother, and she had a house in just in Normandy, actually, outside of Paris, and we would celebrate Christmas on Christmas Eve, and we were given permission to stay awake. So I was a little girl, I was maybe 7, stay awake until midnight, which was great. We were completely free. They were preparing a meal, so we were playing with my cousins, and it was like no supervision. And then she would ring the gong at midnight. And I remember us going down the stairs, super fast, and getting into this room where there's a fireplace, and there was usually a tree, and my aunt and uncles, my grandmother, my cousin, there were 4 of them, and my sister, the other one wasn't born, and I remember mostly there was presents, but what I remember mostly is the crackling noise of ripping the paper. Everybody kind of opening their things, and all those colorful paper and the mess there. I love the mess of all those papers everywhere. So I was remembering this moments of this kind of sound moment, in a way, sound and the visual of a mess, and the freedom. I guess it was freedom and yeah, a sense of being warm and together but free. And the crispness of what's happening with one of my cousin right now who's dying, and I'm with him on WhatsApp, and the beauty of accompanying him as he's conscious, dying conscious, and being together in that way, very different way. But there's something, I mean, he was there as a little boy during that memory. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
I don't know what that story is about, but the two are together, right? Feels like the stories that we are sharing together here, a mixture of the joy of life and the suffering in life, the peace and the non-peace, aloneness and together, and life and death.
It's a very touching story. And it reminds me of a thought I had the other day, which was little joys of our earlier life, however many there were, whichever ones we remember and were a part of and fed us these family joys growing up. They help prepare us for later life. That was a thought I had. Even if they were not many, the ones we had help us, right? If we hold on to them and don't just think of negative things that happened, but try to remember the positive things. They're there and they strengthen us.
Yeah, thank you, June. Yeah, there's meaning.
Jim, I have a wish to hear your voice. I just wonder what you're thinking.
My voice sounds like this.
Okay, thank you.
I don't know. In my family growing up, my mother wanted her children to have some kind of Christmas, and did her best, but there was no real enthusiasm behind it other than motherly obligation. And my father was not involved at all. So I kind of don't have very many feelings about holidays. They always seem strange to me. It's always like I'm visiting a foreign country and this is how things are done there.
Wow. Such a strong image.
I have that same felt sense, the foreigner visiting in many situations, except when I come to help the helpers.
I'm glad that you feel that way.
Because when I come to help the helpers, I'm reminded that we all belong.
Wow. I'm glad you mentioned that. It's taken me a really long time to have that sense of belonging. And, it reminds me of like how I would put the smile forward first. Because I want so much to be positive. I spend so much energy. I feel like I have to work so hard sometimes to be positive. The smile just became very automatic from a very, very early age. And kind of felt sometimes it got stuck there. But I'm more aware of it now. I'm more aware of when it's not integrated with what I'm feeling. And like my primary memories of Christmas are just a lot of isolation from Jim. When you spoke, you just reminded me, it felt like this is what we do and this is our ritual. But there was just something missing, and somehow I seemed to be the one in the family to hold what was missing. And so I don't know, it helps me to just share that so openly, and that it's a bit of a struggle sometimes for me to have the connectedness. And Natty, what you said about looking in another person's eyes. I remember when I first did something called Insight Transformational Seminars, that was an outgrowth of EST many, many years ago. I don't know, maybe 30 years ago. That was my first experience in sitting across from somebody and looking in somebody's eyes. And they played a lot of music, a John Denver song about something about the eyes. I can't remember which song it was. And I just sat there sobbing, just the idea that connection through the eyes, it's just the primary vital, what infants want with their mommy. And it came to me, the sobbing, that we didn't do that in my family. We didn't look into each other's eyes like that. And how important that is in life, to find ways to create that.
It's interesting what you're saying, Dorothy, that you are the voice for the missing in your family. You carrying that's something. In my family, I feel like my father's Jewish and my father's half Jewish, my mother's half Jewish, my father's half Jewish. And my grandfather decided to baptize everybody Protestant, right? He traveled coming from Poland by foot, was as violent as the story, and worked all along from Poland to France. We have a record of one of his speech because he was recognized by France at some point for bringing work to citizens. And in the speech he says, France is my country. This is where I belong. This is very strong Polish accent. And so he baptized everybody Protestant. And on my mother's side, her father, who was Jewish, North African, disappeared really early in her life. And so we never, the Jewish something is in there, but I don't know anything about the story of my family or really Jewish stories. I don't know much. Some, but not much. But there was a strong sense that it's of something there that was not acknowledged, that was not said, that was not named, that was not seen. And I always felt like I would be carrying that, or carrying something that's not there. Like I remember connecting with people in the town where we live. We live in a street that was a affluent street, and I was always connecting with people who didn't have anything, and they were my friends, and I felt like I was connecting to what was missing in what I was living. So that's really interesting what you say, Dorothy. For me, it just clicked. And maybe that also helps us connect, right? When we can connect to also that piece that is not clear or missing, but is there.
Yeah.
And Jim, when you say about, you always felt like looking into a foreign country or being in a foreign country, I was just, I was seeing like a house, and you're outside of the house, and that you see through the windows. It's night and you see through, but you are out. So that image came to me. It's so nice to hear you feel included here. Feels very good.
Just feeling the power of reflection. So powerful.
Yes, what comes to me with listening to you all, Jim, Dorothy, and Sophie, the need for that more, for that real belonging, for that real connection, for that, as you were saying, Jim, and I'm also happy that here that we can all find these spaces where we do feel that we belong. It makes such a difference. It's so meaningful. It's so different. And Dorothy, when you were sharing this story, that there was that maybe this is what I got about it, that maybe there was something going on and you didn't feel like you were connecting there in the way you needed. Maybe there was something about the what was happening there that was strange, that was not that was not really meaningful to you, and this, what you were saying, Sophie, about the need for that, what was missing there, that there was this feeling that there was something there, and the need for that bridge to be built in any way, in the connection, the interaction, the meaning, the meaningfulness, and this, I'm reminded of the book, the search for meaning, the search for meaning, the search for real meaning, and this deep need that we all have to really connect, to connect in all these with other people, with those spaces that were left empty or that needed something there, meaning, whatever. And this, it's like, how do we fill those empty places, those empty spaces? And it's with this type of connection, this here, what we're doing here, like really sharing our lives, our the sadness about, it's not only about celebrating, it's and what was missing at some point. And how do we find it? When did we find it? When did we start realizing that we do belong? And oh wow, there's so much here, so much going on. This deep need, deep need. Sorry about the noise.
Thank you, Natty.
We've had a beautiful gathering. Yeah. And we'll meet again next year, next Monday. Yeah. So, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
You could, Karina, yeah. One of the first time I remember the sense of belonging really very clear is really was focusing, because it helped me bridge words with lots of things that were going on in me, and feel that words were not enemies, that words could be friends. And today I love words. But back then words were really enemies,
Wow.
and focusing really helped me find the body for the word, right?
Wow.
So yeah, and it was really a sense, it connected me to the human being, because that's mainly one of the big way we communicate, the human race.
What did you mean by word? That's so interesting to me, because I relate to it in some way. And I'm so curious what you meant by, in the past, words were enemies.
Yeah, I felt like they were not mostly saying truth. And I was often feeling misunderstood, which was an old feeling of childhood, carrying forward. By coming to this country, talking very little English back then, that kind of enforced that in some ways, but in some other ways, it didn't. It differentiated it. And it was, I was very alienated from being able to use my words and say out loud and feel. And there was a deformation in my own way of hearing my words. So in focusing sometimes, and in TAE, we repeat exactly what the other person says, word to word, even there was the silence and was the ha and expiration. And I remember one of the first times somebody read just what I said, and I was like, wow, this is really what I said, but it doesn't sound like what I hear of what I said. It sounds much better, actually. It sounded really much better. I had like some people, when they look at themselves in the mirror, they have a deformed image of their body. They see it was like that inside. It was
Wow.
my hearing. I had a deformed way of hearing my voice and what I was saying.
Wow.
And that was one way of repairing.
Wow.
Repairing words and how I heard myself. Hearing the truth, really.
Wow.
I'm very touched. Thank you for sharing. I'm very touched.
Yeah, thank you, Sophie, for expanding on that. It was really helpful. It reminds me of so much what they say an infant needs, like that constant, it's it's not one time, it's not one focusing experience. It's like a continual need to have that feedback, and all those experiments of when the mom looks away and what that does to the child closing down. And like when you were talking, it just reminded me like, well, I have it now. Will that be enough this time? No, I need more. I want more. Like a child, like I feel like an infant sometimes, and the need for mirroring, reflection, mirroring.
I appreciate very much the way you mirror so much with the poem you choose for a gathering each week. I don't know if you find them during the time we share or before, or you switch. Sometimes I wonder, but I found that you capture something really essential or a crux. It's very, thank you. You really have a way to connect the poem to where we were, some of what was said beautifully.
Thank you.
Mirroring us. Thank you.
Sometimes it's just a little bit of luck, but you can search for something and sometimes it really clicks in. And some poets are just like, oh my God, they have so much there that they really seem to fill those spaces more easily than others. Thank you, though.
Oh, it's just 1/2 past the hour, and we'll meet again next week. Remembering all the stories from today, all the meanings, and how we support. We support each and every moment. Did
Thank you.
somebody like to say something before we go? Or a way of, it's hard to close, isn't it? The last helpful helpers of 2022. A whole year we've been together. These early morning gatherings to begin the week. Yes.
I'll say that I almost didn't come today, but then I said, I'm going to come.
Mm.
And I am so glad I did. You are my friends. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And I wanted to be here with you all.
We'll give a moment for each person to say something. If there's something you'd like us to hold in our hearts for you, or just to say farewell.
I would like to say that I'm just so very grateful for this time together, for this sharing from the heart, because what you've just shared also took me to those places where I didn't feel understood, and where words were like meaningless, and how hard that is, how empty, how alone it feels. And then when we are in a place, in a space where we can just take time to say our words. This is something that I used to do, and I was told, come on, speak up. Why aren't you able to say what you want to say? And I couldn't. I just couldn't. And I suffered because of that. I was shy. I was a very shy child. And then having this opportunity to really pause and look for what you want to say, to find the word, the meaning, the feeling, the sense. So I'm just really very grateful for this space. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Yeah, me too. I'm very grateful for this today. And those Mondays has been what, 2.5 years, something like that. I can't remember exactly. After COVID started, I was thinking of how an image came about what this is for me, and it was the image of a parachute. I still have not unfolded the image yet, but it does feel like a parachute at the beginning of the week. You know, it's like, okay, I have to jump, but I have this parachute, and I'm kind of, slowed down and to come to land of the week that's coming. That's an interesting image, but it does feel like this, like there is a slowing down, there's a listening, there is a connection and inclusion that I love. So really appreciate that. I want to say thank you.
I'm really glad we decided to stay together and not break up the group, because like everyone's contribution added so much for me today. And just the theme of self-expression and acceptance of our words, it's just so helpful to hear the reflection in others and where they are around this. And it's very helpful to me. So I just appreciate all of us being together today. And thanks, Katerina, for offering to host.
Yeah, we can hope. What was it? Peace on earth.
Goodwill to men and women.
For everyone, everywhere. Somehow.
Everyone, everywhere, right?
It becomes more and more.
Right.
And Jim, did you like to say something as we close today?
Oh, I'm still the shy child that Natty used to be.
Oh,
Well, I just want to say another important word that came up for me from focusing and our time together is being grounded. So, and to me, there's a connection to wanting to go forward in the new year, being grounded, present, and connected.
Mm.
You just reminded me, June, of a whole other area, which we don't have time for today, but when I disassociate and disappear, I've just been tracking that yesterday and today through the holiday, and like that I don't always have as much say in the matter. It feels like to me when I leave, like I was really watching it, and there was a point at certain times yesterday in the celebration day that I had difficulty pulling myself back in. And so it's just something in the new year I'd like to get a better handle on that pull back.
I say thank you to Lynn. And I just read the other day he was born on Christmas Day.
Ah,
yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
Whew. Wow. What a gift.
Isn't that where we started? Lynn's story was the child, each child potential for the potential in a new life. Mm.
And the rhythm of listening, reflecting, and then absorbing. So there's a chance for whatever is wanting to form to be in the waiting, like what Dorothy was saying. Sometimes there comes a moment where we just step back, and maybe it's a kind of calling into something wider, into resting, so that from there we can leap out in a more authentic way. So what June said, what Dorothy said, really weaves together beautifully. Grounded, aware, present. Noticing when there is that impetus to step back. Very important moment.
And may I add one other thing? I've noticed that it's much easier and familiar to pause and be with what's not okay. And I have been making much more of a effort and trying to bring it into my awareness to pause and be with pleasures and joys, even little ones like, oh, the sun is shining, like pausing and being with what's beautiful in addition to everything else that we pause with.
Mhm.
That ray of sunshine that keeps us warm through the many seasons.
Right.
Yeah.
That's so true, June, because lately when I've gone outside and it's been so freezing, I've been like amazed at how much joy I have with the blue sky. Just and the Christmas, crispness.
Christmas of Christmas.
Yes.
I just need to add something, because I was slow, but there was something about what you said, Dorothy, about this pulling back when it feels so uncomfortable, and it's to me it's a place that feels really where I feel stuck, and then I realize that the presence has gone away from me. I don't know where, somewhere, to protect me or whatever. But it really feels, it feels hard and difficult to come, and I can think of present things that trigger me, like some things with my mom, and the special kind of relationship and special kind of things she says that trigger me in those places where I can feel that I pull back, and then there's something that I need to really do to come back and feel present. So I felt that what you were saying was something like this, how when it feels really uncomfortable, that pull back that feels really uncomfortable, and where it's difficult to come back. And I resonated so much with that, Dorothy, because it's something that I need to work with a lot. With these things that trigger me in these special relationships that are close and at the same time so difficult, and the pullback because something has been triggered or felt threatened or whatever, and the coming back because we have this way of being with ourselves and being caring and caring for those places too that need to pull back. And how do we come back? So such a lot there. Thank you for bringing that up, Dorothy. I really resonated.
Thanks.
And this is why right from the beginning I began focusing and felt in Christ together the the way of moving with precision and awareness. And so some of you have come to the little introductory times, and maybe you'll come again. There'll be one this Friday.